backtracking, the Postal Service was supposed to implement full service IMB as of January with this past price increase. A large group of mailers, one of which was Postcom, pointed out that during the filing, the Postal Service was doing certain math and things, all very, rules and regulation kind of wise, that said that they were not accounting for the change in volume when it came to full service implementation, and that they kind of did their cap wrong. Commission kind of signed off on that theory, said you either have to come and refile your prices or you need to delay implementation. So Postal Service decided to delay the implementation. Through that delay, there's something starting to happen in this July. So we're going to ask Bob to explain a little bit about what is slated to happen in July. Where are we with that?
All right, so what's going to happen is the Postal Service has been, for anyone that's been doing full service, the Postal Service has been monitoring their mail quality, looking at one of the components is electronic documentation as a requirement for full service. And so they've been looking at the electronic documentation along with looking at how mail is flowing through their systems. And what they're doing is they've set certain thresholds of quality that must be met to qualify for that full service discount. And starting in July, if you are not meeting those certain levels of quality, then they are going to start invoicing you on a monthly basis, and that invoice will be any amount of mail that exceeds a threshold, you will lose that full service discount. So that 1/10 of a cent or 3/10 of a cent per piece discount will be taken back.
So they're mailing the invoice?
I don't know exactly how. I doubt that it would be mailed.
I think, don't they, just like today, don't they do kind of like a monthly reconciliation at the end of at least that's what they do on package side, where they do a monthly reconciliation and say, this is what we have, and then the mailer comes back and goes, this is what I have, and they kind of, right? I mean, is that how it's done?
How's that go? Replicate the parcel side.
Yeah. One would expect to be something similar to that, but one of the things that we need to encourage everyone to be doing then is the Postal Service is reporting on this quality now. And so mailers can go out to the business customer gateway, they can look at their mail quality reports, and they can see how they're doing right now.
Have a set threshold so you know if you're below or above it.
He has it in his presentation at the forum.
There you go. See, that's why you need to attend the forum, right there.
Or
there you
download
go.
the presentations.
There, you knew there's a plug in here someplace, didn't you?
Thank you.
So yes, the thresholds have been set, and the Postal Service is reporting against those now. Granted, there is no invoicing being generated yet, but you would be able to tell whether or not you would be subject. Yeah, I know they were going to start simulate the invoices, and they did turn that on for a little bit, but I heard there was a lot of pushback because there was issues around
Quality.
Right. And so they have turned that functionality off. But I guess maybe a question would be, is that going to be turning back on before July?
So people can look.
So I have a question. So what constitutes, why would you be invoiced? Give me a reason. Why, if I mail, I pay X rate. Why am I getting invoiced, right? I mean, I kind of entered mail, I paid for it.
Well, I would say, a simple example would be, let's say you violated uniqueness or whatever it is. You had a duplicate container and they weren't uniquely identified. That would count as a violation.
So is there a list of violations that I can be made aware of?
There is a list of thresholds that, yes, they are currently testing and looking at within your electronic documentation.
And of course, on RIBS, there's a RIBS website, and there's a handbook that's in the RIBS website that has dozens of error codes that are reported back to the customer or to the mailer about what went wrong.
Are you hearing from your members, where they currently stand in relationship to mail quality?
I think most people are finally catching on that if they weren't ready for when it was supposed to be implemented last January, they're getting ready for when it's going to be implemented sooner or later. It will be implemented. I don't think there's any argument about that. But the interesting thing is,
the Postal Service is still fighting the PRC. They went to the Court of Appeals with the PRC decision saying that full service implementation on a grand scale needs to be part of the cap calculation. So once the courts decide, the Postal Service will either, I'm guessing, my own thought, is that it'll be mandatory in January 2015 because they'll win the case and the PRC can't do it as a cap calculation. If it is, I personally think they would wait till legislation to see if Action C is baked in, because then they can kind of take a hit on the rates because they're getting 6% baked in. So I think it all just depends on
no matter how,
which way the wind blows.
No matter how the court comes out, no matter how the exigency case is baked in or not, full service is going to happen one of these fine days. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter
but
of
is it
when.
15 or 16? That's what I think.
Okay,
I
but
guess
most
I would-
owners think that they're producing quality mail. What are you getting as feedback from your customers?
Well, if you come back to, okay, how are they doing on the reports? That's a good question. And what's going to happen now is those that have moved to full service are going to have to establish a new business role in their company to have someone that is actively monitoring these reports.
Plus, it's good for jobs.
Well, that's one
You know,
way to look at it.
but the strange thing is what this is actually is as sort of an enforced form of quality control. You know, because all mailing companies always had some form of quality control person, but I'm sure no one went through the level of detail that this process is putting them through, nor are they getting the level of feedback in their prior processes that gave them the kind of reports they're seeing now in the scorecard.
So-
But obviously, I mean, I don't know what you're hearing, but we're hearing from members they're finding things within their operations that were just innocent little mistakes nobody even knew about that kick up now because of what the reports are finding, and they can fix them.
So is this a mail owner thing? You see people monitoring it, or is it more of a mail service provider?
Monitoring it?
Like are you going back?
I say both.
Yeah,
What do you say?
I think so too.
depends on how involved
I
the
think so
mailer
too.
is.
But of course, the mailing service provider has a much more tangible interest in getting the problems fixed, because not only do they have a financial interest of having a better operation, they also don't want to get the phone call from their clients saying what's going on here. They want to make sure they do good work for their clients and to maintain their business image.
But a lot of your customers produce their mail on their own, right? In-house statement operations. So there is no mail service provider in that role.
In that case.
In that case,
Right.
yeah. And so then they've got to establish someone in that role that is actively monitoring these reports.
Right.
And when they see something going south, maybe early in a month, make sure they get on it very quickly to make sure that by the end of the month, they're back in, below the threshold, so
Yeah.
they're not subject
Right.
to
So
a
to be
reboard.
positive, I mean, this is the first time we've ever gotten feedback.
In a sense.
Yeah.
In a sense. It's a very specific feedback. A very
We'll have
detailed
flashlights now shining into that big black box.
That's
of
right.
Postal
But
office.
it also has raised a lot of questions, though, about, okay, let's say you have exceeded a threshold and you don't believe that there really was that error. How do
Right.
you go about arguing and, saying that this is not my fault and proving that? That
Right.
whole vetting process is a big unknown.
Right. And of course, the problem we have there is Sharon's fault. Just
Well,
making sure you didn't escape any blame here for
Jessica alluded to it earlier that we do have a similar system in place for package mailers who use the electronic verification system. So we do have experience working through that, and I would imagine we would bring that experience to play in working through the mail issues, with the idea being to produce quality mailings.
Sure.
And I think that's what
Sure.
Leo said, that we're going to be able to use this feedback for the whole industry to get stronger and to produce better mail to get better results.
And to
Right.
give credit to the Postal Service, they have been providing these reports for a while, but they
Right.
really started giving that information in January. So people have had almost 6 months of being able to monitor this and put maybe in place their own ways of catching this.
No time in big corporations.
But from a print or from a mail service provider perspective, who's dealing with these things in and out, I mean, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
6 months is enough time?
Well, I think
Well,
if
they've
you
been giving
if
them before 6 months.
if
It's
you
just
had
they've
been-
made it known
If
that
you
you could
had
really
been-
dig into it for the last 6 months.
if you've been doing what you should have been doing before the January implementation date,
Right.
then right now you're just humming along, and you should have been ready by now.
Right.
If you're just getting ready for it now, then I don't know what you were doing before January.
Well, see, what makes me nervous is that there's going to be these thresholds, as Bob
Right.
alluded to, and then all of a sudden, I'm a basic mailer, basic IMB mailer. And one day I want to turn on full service, and all of a sudden I have no leeway. It's like I wake up, and the next day I'm all of a sudden hitting thresholds. So, like, maybe we could, if you've never used full service and you become a full service mailer, maybe the full service should consider giving you 6 months.
It would just
or,
be helpful to understand
something.
what the threshold is in relationship to what all the mail is. So, the Postal Service is the only one that has a view of all the
Of
mail that is
everything.
tendered to them. So if the threshold is at 5, is the average for all mail at 4? Or is it 3? Or is it 7? What do the numbers mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I think it's another reason to start playing. If you haven't moved to full service yet, it's another reason to start playing around with it, because you do have a little bit of leeway here yet, a little bit of runway left to start figuring this out and figure out where there might be issues in your shop that you might need to
Yep.
address.
Yep.
Certain
And of
things.
course, as you mentioned before, there are some situations where the Postal Service is processes maybe have a little bit of a hiccup, and where a reported error is not truly an error. That's got to shake out too. So I don't think they want to go in the business of reporting errors that aren't legitimate. You know, it doesn't do them any good. So so the sooner that everybody gets on into the whole program here, the sooner all these things can shake out, and the sooner things can be operating well. There were concerns over thresholds with ZIP +4, for heaven's sakes, going back decades ago. So over time, everything comes down with a threshold, and sooner or later, everybody figures out, oh, that's how you do it, and then the threshold becomes almost irrelevant.
Great. So is it July 1st or July 30th?
It's my, it's my understanding, I believe the date is July 27th, which is when Postal 1 officially deploys and goes into effect.
Nice.